everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Nicole and I'm a part-time reseller on Poshmark, and today I'm going to talk about some new app updates that have been pushed out on Poshmark recently. These are things that I've actually seen over the last couple of weeks. I feel like I just made one of these videos, but I feel like as soon as I put that video out, they release more changes. I feel like that's just what they're doing these days. So I'm going to talk about some of the updates that have happened in the last couple of weeks. Some of these you might have already experienced. Some of these might not even be rolled out to your app yet. If you don't see these in your app yet, don't panic. Just keep your app up to date in the App Store. I do get a lot of comments that actually ask me how to update their app and make sure their app is up to date. If you go into the App Store on your phone, you can basically like type in Poshmark and then just make sure if it says open, it is up to date. If it says update, it means that you need to push an update. A lot of us have our phones automatically updating our apps for us, but some of us don't. So just make sure it's updated at all times, and then you'll get these pushed to you on occasion. But I always do mention every time I make one of these videos that everyone gets the features pushed out at different times. So just because somebody has a feature doesn't mean that everyone has it. I've seen that with a lot of people. Some people are saying that they have a feature, some people are saying they don't. So if you don't have it yet, don't panic, you will get it soon. All right, let's get right into this video. Okay, so the first update that has been pushed out recently is the feed update. So if you've been around a while and you know what the feed used to look like, it used to be your following feed. So basically it used to be what your followers would share to you is what you would see in your feed. Now it's kind of turned into more of a curated feed for you. So they're kind of taking that from like other social platforms, and they're basically saying, okay, they're making the feed all about you and the things that you would search for. So an example of this that I took from my own feed was I was looking for a dress. I was looking for a Lulu's dress for a fall wedding that I have this year, and I was doing a lot of searching on Poshmark. So then on my feed, it then was showing me for you pics that were from Lulu's that were dresses similar to the ones that I was looking for. So they're kind of like specifically looking at things that you've already looked at on the app and then targeting them to your feed to say you might be interested in something like this. So some people think that this is a bad thing because then they think that they're not just getting, anything random, and that they're like, it's more of a curated feed. And if you're only a seller, yeah, this is kind of not that helpful for you. But if you're also a buyer, I kind of do both. It's kind of nice to have the option to have things that are a little bit more curated to me and not just a bunch of random things that like I don't need to see. But I understand why some people are thinking that this isn't really the greatest change, because they're like, well, then how do I share out other people's closets on my feed? Or how do I even just share out other closets? All you would have to do in this case is click on each of them and then click the little share button. It's a little bit less straightforward than just being able to click it from the feed, but they're really trying to actually give you a curated feed of things that you want to see. So in a way, this is what any other platform does. This is what people want to see. I don't think this is always a bad thing. I think it's just something that you have to adapt to the changes for. Okay, the next thing I'm seeing is the price adjustment, or like the price suggestion feature. So I did talk about this a few weeks ago when I did the Posh Fest update video. This they've actually pushed out and they're starting to roll out to a bunch of us. And basically for a while people were saying that they didn't see a price suggestion. It was kind of just saying it was unavailable. And then I started to see some people get access to the new price suggestion, which is basically giving you two options. So this is what I said when I made the video, but I'll recap it in case you missed it. They're going to give you two different price suggestions. One that's a little bit lower that they think is going to sell pretty fast, but it's still a fair price for the item. And then they're going to give you a higher price that's still a good price, but it might take you a little bit longer to sell. But if you want to make more money off of the item, then you would use that price. The lower suggestion is, I want to get a quick sale, but I still want to make money off of it and I still want to have a fair price. The higher price is, I don't care if it sits for a little bit longer, I want to make more money. So they're going to give you two different prices, and then they're going to give you a, like, what has sold similarly for that same, style that you're showing for what price point. So they're going to give you a range. So I think this is a little bit more helpful than the old price suggestion feature, because I felt like the old price suggestion feature was basically just giving you a spitball of numbers that it was like 100 to 200. It's like, okay, well, 100 and 200 are very different. So I wanted like an in-between middle ground, and I think this is a little bit more specific and targeted, and especially if you don't know anything about the brand or anything about like the style, and maybe you don't know that that style is actually a really popular style, maybe this price suggestion feature could then say, oh, this style was actually selling for a decent amount, and so here's what we're suggesting. So I do think that this is actually helpful, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. I'm not quite sure exactly if I'm going to follow it to a T, but it's nice to have the option there, and it's nice to see what price points it thinks will sell fast and which ones will take a little bit longer. I might find something right in the middle, honestly, to start out with, or maybe start with the higher one, and then I could always have room for offers or something like that. But I do think this is a positive change. I do think this is a cool change, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. I do think this is a feature that was never really good to begin with, so I'm hoping this change makes it better. Okay, the next one that I actually did briefly touch on in another video, but I still think it's a new update, is they updated the bundle feature recently. We all know that. A lot of people hate it, but for a while when you were clicking the little add to bundle, it wasn't doing anything. But now if you click that, it actually adds it directly to the bundle. So basically I'm demoing that here, where I'm clicking the little plus and it adds their likes to their bundles, which is exactly what you used to do, but it's in a different spot. It used to be below the listing, now it's like on top of the listing, but it still works the same way. It still functions and adds the item to the bundle. So go ahead and play around with this. If you want to know how to add likes to a bundle, you access them the same way by going to their closet or going through your feed to come across them, and then you just click the little plus and it will add it right to their bundle so that you could send them a bundle offer. Okay, the next update, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it's a Posh Shows update, and basically they switched the times that you can run an item for. It used to be 15, 30, and 60 seconds, I think, or something like, yeah, I think it was 15, 30, and 60 seconds. Now it's actually 10, 15, and 30 seconds. I think this is because they want people to be able to go through items faster, and maybe 60 seconds is kind of overkill. But I think if you're like really talking about an item and showing the item and you want to show it while you're running it, or if you want to do it at like a low start or something, because a lot of people do that, I think the 60 seconds was good. I personally think 10 seconds is too short, unless you're having someone that's bundling things and they, you know, have their card set up already. But a lot of us, including myself, when I'm purchasing something, I have Apple Pay, so it takes me a few seconds to like register, and so I might need 15, 30 seconds to do that. So I feel like 10 seconds is too short, but if you already have your card set up and you're just continually buying, then maybe that's good, because if you're just bundling things, you don't want to waste too much time. I do think it's a short time frame though, so I'm curious what your thoughts are if you do Posh shows or if you participate in live shows. I know a lot of people that are complaining because they kind of liked the 60-second option, like I said, especially for those low starts or something like that, but I think, again, this is just so it gets your shows moving faster, and so you don't spend as much time like wasted, and like it keeps people entertained. But it is definitely interesting. I still wish they had the 60-second option. I wish it was just like they had 10, 15, 30, and 60 seconds. I think that would be even better. But yeah, they don't have it anymore, so I mean, 30 seconds will have to do. Okay, the next update has to do with the consignment bags. So including myself, a lot of other people still don't have access to the consignment bags. I still have the message saying it's coming soon, it's not in your area yet. But a lot of people have actually had access to it for a couple months now, if not longer than that. And I've heard a lot of bad experiences, actually. I was actually really curious to try it out myself, but I've heard a lot of bad things. And because of all those bad changes or those bad updates that, you know, people were dealing with, Posh decided, okay, we're gonna change this a little bit and make it a little bit better. So you used to basically be able to send anything. Like, people would just fill these big bags and then people would get them and be like, wait, I can't sell this, or like these pieces are junk, or the opposite would happen. People would give like really, really high-end pieces, but then the seller would actually sell them like really, really cheap. So they've made some changes, and basically they're no longer allowing you to sell things that are not like either new or like new. So everything has to be in very, very good condition. And the next criteria is they're no longer allowing those, you know, I guess I could say like mall brands or like not really super good high-end brands. So I do find it funny that they listed like brands like Old Navy and Target and Fashion Nova, like all those fast fashion brands. Now, I think Old Navy is actually like good quality, and I do think it actually sells for a decent amount. I don't know if Fashion Nova and Target really are in the same realm, but they're no longer allowing these brands, and they're allowing brands that are things that people are actually looking for. So their suggestions are Coach, Free People, Nike, and things like that, and Lululemon, all of that. I don't know how they're really going to actually like make sure that this happens, because I think when the bag gets to the person, it's not like Posh is checking the bag first. So I guess if you open up a bag and you get these bad brands, you could send it back with no problem. But I don't know how they're really going to kind of hold people accountable for this. I'm curious how this is going to work. I also found it really interesting because they put a little note in there that said items that were bought for under 50 are no longer accepted, which, I mean, 50 is like a high price point, and you can even get a lot of those brands that they listed, Nike, Lululemon, Coach, Free People, you can get some of those items for under $50 originally. So I don't know if that's really a fair criteria. I don't personally love it. So I'm curious if you have done consignment bags, what your experiences are. Like I said, I've heard some really, really bad horror stories of people getting bags and they've been full of junk, or they've like smelled really bad, or they were dirty, or I've also heard the opposite, where there's been people that have given really, really nice items and then the seller decided to sell it dirt cheap, and then the person didn't make a lot of money off of it. So if you've had any experience with the consignment bags, let me know in the comments. Like I said, I really want to try it out, but I just haven't had the opportunity, and I almost wish I had the opportunity to try it like in its original state, because I was actually going to use it to sell pieces that I knew were good that I just couldn't personally sell. And I was going to sell those kind of pieces, but now I don't know if I can because they have to fit those criteria. So I don't know, I still want to try it, but I wish I would have had the opportunity to try it before they made these updates. And I wish they would have done that, like allowed everyone to try it first, but I guess they just had so many complaints originally that they didn't want that to happen. And the final one that I want to talk about that I saw the other day in my feed was basically like the best of Posh shows. So they're kind of like recommending things that they think are like selling well, or just things that are popular. And so it's almost like highlighting those kind of pieces. So like either it's telling you to look for them, or it's telling you to put them in your shows. So I thought this was kind of interesting, and I thought it could just be helpful if you do Posh shows. Okay, so that is actually all the features I'm going to talk about in this video. I hope you found this video helpful, and let me know your thoughts. Like I said, I know a lot of people have a lot of mixed thoughts about the new features and the new updates that Posh has been putting out. I know a lot of people are frustrated. A lot of people have been telling me that they want to quit. And I mean, I know that changes are hard, and I know that changes are not really fun sometimes, but you have to learn how to adapt and change with the platform. And again, you could still have success even with changes, and I am living proof of that, because I have adapted to all these different changes, and I'm still getting consistent daily sales even after all these changes. So it's definitely possible. You just have to learn how to change and adapt. You can't just focus on what you were doing before, because that's not gonna work. If you want to see that original video with PoshFest updates that I was talking about in the beginning of this video, that kind of talks about all of these at a high level, but then it also talks about some that haven't even been released yet that are gonna come soon, you could click right here. And if you want to see another video on 5 tips that I think you should definitely follow to make more sales on Poshmark that are extremely helpful, you could click right here. But until next time, I will see you then.